as we run out of ground in the Yukon, it'd be nice to have had a season or two under our belt and to say, okay, here's the score, here's what the ground's like in Alaska. Got to keep your mind on the future, right?
$14 million. That's the staggering amount of gold Parker Schnabel's crew pulled from the earth before he abruptly shut down the mine. This wasn't a failure. It was a sign of overwhelming success. From a kid taking over his grandpa's claim to a kingpin protecting his territory, this is the story of a golden empire and the secrets it holds. The young gun's gamble. The legend of Parker Schnabel, the undisputed young king of the Klondike, feels like a modern-day tall tale. But the truth is, it all began with a gamble of epic proportions. When he was just 16 years old, he made the monumental decision to step away from his family's big nugget mine and take over the mining operation from his revered grandfather, the legendary John Schnabel. This was no simple summer job. It was a life-altering plunge into the deep end of the ruthless gold mining industry. Truth be told, the pressure on the teenager was immense. He wasn't just trying to live up to his family's name. He was determined to carve out his own legacy. To do that, he needed his own ground.
I don't care if you guys hate my guts.
Right.
I need a little respect. Who's the boss?
You are.
It doesn't feel like it. Don't shut my crew down without talking to me.
In a move that left many seasoned miners shaking their heads, Parker invested $100,000 of his own money, a fortune for anyone, let alone a teenager, to lease a new claim he believed was teeming with gold. What nobody talks about enough is the crushing weight of that decision. He was betting everything on a hunch, with the future of his crew and his reputation on the line. He knew that to hit his ambitious target in the famous Klondike territory, he had to be both fast and incredibly clever. This led to a strategic decision that seemed bizarre at the time. He chose to split his crew, most of whom were still new to the extreme challenges of Alaska, into two distinct teams. This move would define their entire season. The first unit was designated the Wolf Cut Crew. Their mission was to act as pioneers, venturing into untouched sections of the claim. Their work was a brutal, slow-moving battle against the permafrost. They had to dig 30 feet down through virgin soil, scraping away the frozen layers of overburden to expose the pay dirt to the sun. You see, what's really going on in the Yukon is a race against the calendar. If the ground isn't thawed, the wash plant can't separate the gold. The Wolf Cut crew was spending a fortune on fuel and wages just to prepare the ground, with absolutely no gold coming in to offset the costs. On the other side of the operation was the Drift Cut crew, led by his trusted foremen, Mitch and Tyson. Their job was the complete opposite. They couldn't afford to wait for the ground to thaw. They needed to find gold, and they needed to find it immediately to keep the entire operation financially afloat.
We've been running these wash plants hard all year, but we're going to run them the hardest right now, right to the finish line. That's it down there. Hopefully there's a little gold in this ground here.
They meticulously prospected their area, panning samples and searching for any sign of color, a tiny speck in the dirt, a promising layer of gravel that could lead them to a payday. As the week stretched into a month, both teams worked around the clock. Parker's massive Alaskan gamble had officially become a full-blown race against time, and the whole world was watching to see if the kid could actually pull it off. But as the sun beat down on the claim, the only thing piling up were bills, and a deep sense of uncertainty was beginning to creep in. For what felt like an eternity, the two crews operated in separate worlds, each locked in its own unique struggle. For the Wolf Cut crew, daily life was a slow, grinding war against the earth itself. Day after day, the colossal excavators scraped away layers of dirt while the bulldozers pushed mountains of frozen soil. What nobody ever really shows on television is the sheer monotony and crushing physical toll of this kind of work. They weren't finding any gold. They were just moving dirt, endless tons of it, fueled only by the hope that somewhere 30 feet below lay a golden treasure. The mood on this side of the claim was a tense mixture of strained optimism and growing anxiety. Every single day they didn't find color was another day the operation bled thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, the Drift Cut crew was feeling a different, more immediate kind of pressure. They weren't just preparing for the future, they were supposed to be paying the bills for the present. Mitch and Tyson pushed their small team relentlessly. They were in a constant state of exploration, their eyes scanning every pan of dirt for that telltale glint of yellow.
It's been such a tough week. We've been out here fighting, struggling to keep these rock trucks going. Really excited to see what's at the bottom of this. 60 feet down. We're gonna go out, pan it up, and well, hopefully the pounds look as good as the drilling.
It's a strange thing about mining. You can be just a few feet away from a fortune and have no idea. They would dig a test trench and find nothing, then move the excavator 10 feet to the left and suddenly hit a pocket of rich pay. It was a stressful, high-stakes game of geological hide-and-seek. The tension across the entire operation was becoming unbearable. Parker was constantly driving between the two sites, a whirlwind of nervous energy, checking on progress, pushing his teams, and managing the staggering costs of fuel and equipment maintenance. What brings up a lot of questions is how a teenager could possibly handle that level of stress. He wasn't just a miner, he was the CEO of a complex, high-risk, and incredibly expensive company. Then, just when things seemed most dire, the breakthrough happened. After weeks of relentless digging, the Wolfcut crew finally hit the layer they had been dreaming of. The pay dirt was rich. When they ran their first test sluice, the mats in the box lit up with gold. The very ground that had been their biggest challenge finally surrendered its hidden wealth. In an almost unbelievable twist of fate, the Driftcut crew struck gold at nearly the same time. Their painstaking search had paid off, uncovering a deposit big enough to fund their operation for the foreseeable future. That's when it hit everyone. Parker's crazy, high-risk plan to split the crews had actually worked. Suddenly, it all made sense. One crew had secured their long-term future, and the other was paying for their present. News of his double success spread like wildfire through the mining community. It was the moment everyone realized that Parker Schnabel wasn't just a kid with a famous last name anymore. He was a true force to be reckoned with. Now, with gold pouring in from two locations, the real challenge was about to begin, getting it out of the ground before their own machinery fell apart. With gold finally flowing from both crews, Parker's operation shifted into high gear. Now, an experienced prospector, he zeroed in on a massive gold deposit he believed could make everyone involved incredibly wealthy.
I think that Parker's pretty excited to see what's in the bottom of this hole.
Most definitely. I don't know who's more excited, him or us.
But it's a strange truth in gold mining that as soon as you solve one problem, another one immediately takes its place. The truth nobody expected was that their own equipment was about to become their greatest enemy. You see, Parker's old gold processing machine, known as a wash plant, was simply no longer reliable. He had been using a rented machine to keep the dirt moving, but the new leader of his crew, a man named Mark, despised using rented gear. The thing is, rented machines are often old, poorly maintained, and notoriously inefficient. To make matters worse, Parker's top man, Mitch, wasn't on site at the time, making every challenge that much harder. Their plan was to get their own customized wash plant, the mighty Big Red, assembled and running as fast as possible. This is where things got wild. The crew had to move the gigantic machine into place and put it together piece by piece like a multi-ton puzzle. In a crucial and difficult step, they had to maneuver a huge metal tube called the tailings conveyor into the perfect position. It took a massive amount of effort, using heavy chains and the delicate touch of excavator operators to get the giant piece of steel set correctly. After all that back-breaking work, the machine was finally ready. This is when Parker made a shocking decision that revealed just how high the stakes were. He decided to completely close off all access to the area where they had found the richest pay dirt. He locked down his own mine. What was really going on was a calculated move to protect his find from prying eyes and allow his crew to focus 100% on extracting the gold without any distractions. It was a move that could lead to a monumental payoff, but it also placed all the pressure squarely on his team to deliver. 2 years after that initial setup, Parker's Alaskan mine site had transformed into a massive, sprawling operation. They had cleared nearly a mile of debris left by old-timers and were ready to see what their claim could truly produce.
That's super fine, but there's 35? And like 35, even tiny colors, is a really good pan.
Yeah.
Because we're panning some gold in it and some of it doesn't have gold in it, just haul a couple thousand yards up.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna rip out of here, be back in 2 days. And I wanna see what's in it.
Yep, sounds good.
Their goal was ambitious, to pull out an ounce of gold for every single hour the machines ran. But just as things were getting started, they hit a snag. Their scale was a standard one, not a specialized one calibrated for troy ounces, the official unit of weight for precious metals. It was a minor issue, but hungry for results, they went ahead with their first weigh-in anyway. They came in just short of their goal at 13.8 ounces. Even so, that gold was still worth over $23,000 for the first hour of mining. A fantastic result and a sign of the massive riches to come. But this early success was just a warm-up for the golden flood that was about to be unleashed. The golden deluge and disaster. The success of that first weigh-in was only the beginning. The crew settled into a rhythm, and the gold began to pile up at an astonishing rate. What nobody talks about is the sheer scale of the wealth they were unearthing. During one cleanup, they had 3 pans so full of gold it looked like something out of a movie. After one incredible day of non-stop mining, they weighed in a stunning 253.8 ounces. At over $820,000 in a single day, they weren't just mining gold, they were practically printing money. By this point in the season, their grand total had reached an incredible 7,381.1 ounces. Parker, who was always known for taking care of his crew, decided to reward them in a way no one saw coming. In a move that sent shockwaves through the camp, he gave each member of his core crew a surprise bonus of $122,000 in solid gold. It was a powerful statement that he viewed their success as a team effort. But then, right when everything seemed to be going perfectly, another disaster struck. Rocks began clogging up their multi-million-dollar machinery. A new young worker named Evan was the first to spot the problem. They were forced to shut down Big Red again and again to clear out the jams. Mitch, now back in charge, quickly diagnosed the issue. A screen deep inside Big Red was torn, allowing large rocks to slip through and cause blockages downstream. This was a huge problem. The jams were not only slowing them down dramatically, but they were also almost certainly losing gold every time the machine got clogged. In a demanding and dangerous job, Mitch had to climb up and personally replace the giant heavy screen. After the fix was finally made, it was back to mining, but the challenges kept coming. They soon discovered that rocks were also blocking the water flow in the sluice boxes, which prevented the fine gold from settling properly. Again, the broken screen was to blame. This cascade of problems showed just how one small failure could threaten the entire operation.
You know, if Evan hadn't have spotted this, more and more material would have built up in the sluice runs until we're doing all this work, we're washing all these rocks, but we're not catching any gold.
Once Big Red was finally fixed for good, however, it was time to see what it could really do, and the results were beyond belief. With their primary wash plant finally running at 100%, the gold totals began to climb into the stratosphere. The first cleanup after the major repair yielded a solid 51.6 ounces of gold, worth around $90,000. It was a great start, proving the fix had worked. But then came the cleanup from their other wash plant, a machine they affectionately called Slucifer. This machine produced an amazing 210 ounces. But the most thrilling moment was yet to come. The entire crew gathered around the scale to weigh the gold from Slucifer's main, final cleanout for that period. The numbers on the digital display kept climbing, past 100 ounces, past 200, finally stopping at an astonishing 360.5 ounces. That single cleanup from their second-best machine was worth almost $600,000. The excitement in the gold room was electric. That's when it truly hit them. With this much gold coming out of the ground from multiple machines simultaneously, they weren't just on a good streak, they were sitting on a legendary motherload. This is the moment that crystallized Parker's big decision. With cleanups this large and the ground proving to be unbelievably rich, he made the final call to shut down all access to his mine. The truth nobody expected is that he was likely sitting on one of the richest pay streaks of his entire career, and he needed to protect it from rival miners, corporate spies, or anyone else who might want a piece of the action. It was a bold, unprecedented move that sent ripples through the entire gold mining community and signaled that Parker Schnabel had officially hit the biggest jackpot of his life. But with that much money on the line, and a hit TV show documenting it, the official story is never the only story being told. Parker shut the gates on millions in gold, but what was he trying to keep out? Rivals or secrets? Smash that like and subscribe for more.